Just before going to the analysis, I want to give you kind of understanding about what you mean the CVP, cost volume and profit analysis. As the slide says, the cost volume profit or the CVP analysis is a method of cost accounting that looks at the impact that varying levels of cost and volume on the profit. It is more like creating a relationship between cost, volume, and the profit. In this analysis, this is more like a sensitivity type of analysis where we are going to look at what will happen to the profit if we make slight adjustment to the volume. What will happen to the profit if we make slice, very incremental changes in the cost, something like that. So in this particular analysis, what we do is we create a relationship between cost, volume, and profit. Then we change each and every variable and see what will happen to the other variables, something like that, right? So this cost, volume, profit analysis, also commonly known as the break even analysis. I think you all know what is a break even. Break even is actually no profit no loss situation. Now this particular analysis always looks for determining the break even point for different sales volumes, cost structures, which can be useful for managers, especially to make short-term decisions. So that is the main idea. So the cost volume profit analysis is merely for short-term decision making, because I will explain why. Because it is basically depend on whole lot of assumptions, like sales price are fixed and we can divide all the cost into fixed and variable, you know and cost per unit is consistent over the whole level of production. So and there's no technological changes during the time period that we are assuming. Those are some of the is a assumption that we based when we consider when we are doing this type of analysis. So therefore we need to remember that this particular exercise is only valid for short term decision making, right? So that is cost, volume, and profit analysis. So before diving into the analysis, I want to explain some of the terminology when it comes to the costing, right? So there are several terminology that we need to know before we move into this analysis, this break-even analysis, right? So let me explain those terminologies. I think most of us, including you, we know that we have come across these concepts in different subjects, in different discipline, in different levels. But I wanted to explain it again to you so that remind you, recall your memory. So first, I will go with opportunity cost. I think we all know what is opportunity cost. So opportunity cost is actually the whatever the value that we forgone, or whatever the value that we will have to sacrifice just because of we are selecting an alternative opportunity. Suppose that we have why there is opportunity cost, because we have several alternative options. For example, now here it says that if you were not attending the college, you could be earning $20,000 per year. Your opportunity cost of attending college is actually that $20,000 that you could have earned if you have not come to the college, something like that. So each and every decision we are going to make in our life, most of the time we have several options. We could choose over one another. So when you are selecting one option out of several options, normally opportunity cost, we consider the next best alternative that we will have to forego or we will have to sacrifice just because of selecting a one option. Why we are selecting a one option? Because always we have limited amount of resources, we have limited amount of time, so we have limited amount of money, we have limited amount of other physical resources. Therefore, since we don't have as much as resources to engage in every and each option we have. We will have to prioritize and we will have to select one. Most of the time when we are making decisions. Therefore, we always consider this opportunity cost when we are looking at cost analysis, right? So that is opportunity cost. I hope that you all have good sense of opportunity cost. People who have done commerce probably have come across these concepts very well. Even other people, I think these terms are quite common these days. So most of us know what do you mean by the opportunity cost. That the name itself gives you the idea. The cost of sacrificing one opportunity because of going for another opportunity. That is opportunity cost. Right. The next concept that I wanted to discuss is actually sunk cost. Sunk cost. Yeah, now, sunk cost is actually an interesting concept. Now, it says that all the costs incurred in the past that cannot be changed by any decision made now or in the future are considered as sunk cost. Right. So, therefore, sunk cost should not be considered when we are making decisions. Because if we cannot change that particular cost item when we are making a particular decision, so there's no point of considering about that. I will give you some examples, like now something like the research and development expenditure, right? And the expenditure that we will have to incur when we are registering our company, when we are starting our company. We cannot integrate that amount of money into the prices of the products that we are selling, right? So therefore those costs we normally label them as sunk cost, which we normally think those costs are irrelevant when we are making decisions. Now the example here is you bought an automobile that cost 2 million 2 years ago. The 2 million cost is a sunk cost because whether you drive it or park it, you cannot change that 2 million cost. This is actually a good example. When you buy a car, you will buy it based on its price, right? Once you brought it, then it will be parked in your garage. Then the next decision that you want to make is whether you are going to use the car to go into your office place or whether you are going to use the bus. When you are making that decision, there's no point of think about the cost that you had to bear when you are buying your car, because that is anyway cannot be eradicated. It is there. You have already incurred that. You cannot change that when it comes to this particular decision, right? So that is sunk cost. So normally when we are making decisions, especially when it comes to costing, we do not consider the sunk cost. We consider the sunk cost as an irrelevant cost, something that is not relevant for a decision, right? So those are this is actually another type of a cost that I want to discuss. And then we have relevant and irrelevant cost. I need to tell you all sunk costs are actually irrelevant. All sunk costs are irrelevant. But there are relevant costs. Mostly variable costs, we normally consider them as a relevant cost. Relevant cost is that change with the change in the decision. When you are making decision, if something is going to change in terms of cost, so we take it as relevant cost. Now, if you take the same example here, earlier we discussed, you bought an automobile that cost 2 million 2 years ago, and now you have a decision whether you are going to park it at the garage or you are going to take it with you. Are you going to drive it? So when you are making that decision, what is the cost that has been affected? That is actually your petrol cost, right? How much you will have to pay for petrol. So if you decided to drive it, you will have to pay for petrol, or maybe it is a diesel car. So whatever it is, for fuel you have to pay, but if you park it, you don't want to pay for that. So when you are making that decision, cost on fuel is actually a relevant cost, because when you are making that decision, it will change, right? So here the examples are variable costs, fixed cost which change with the alternative. There are some costs normally change with the alternative. Opportunity cost is always welcome, because whenever you are making a decision, there is always opportunity cost. So you will have to consider that, right? So then the irrelevant cost. Now we all know what is irrelevant cost. I already said that all the sunk costs are irrelevant, because when you are making a decision, nothing's going to change. So irrelevant costs are the costs that would not affected by the current decision. Something like this. Now I can take the same example now here. If you look at the same example of this car, now we all know that we have to pay that, uh, we have to take the license for the car if you need to put the car into the road. Otherwise it would be illegal. So when you have to pay it yearly. So once you get the license for the vehicle, not for you, once you get the vehicle, then when you are deciding whether you are going to drive it or not, the cost that you had to bear for vehicle license is actually a irrelevant cost, because that has already been done and you had to pay for that, and you are done with it. Now decision about driving it or parking it at home doesn't change the cost that you had to incur on the license. So therefore that cost on license, we consider it as an irrelevant cost, irrelevant, not relevant for this particular decision. So how you categorize those two, relevant and irrelevant? That is basically depend on the particular decisions that you are going to make. That depends on the decision. For some decisions that may be relevant. For example, let's say you are going to sell the car, then the cost that you had to incur to buy it becomes relevant, because that is the cost that you had to buy when you are selling it. Then when you are calculating your profit, you had to consider whatever the cost that you had to incur when you are buying that car. So that so this is the trick point here. Now the relevant and irrelevant cost always keep change. That basically depend on the whatever the decision that you are making. If that cost is if that cost is affected by whatever the decision that you are making, that cost is a relevant cost. If that is not affected, then we can consider it as an irrelevant cost, right? So that is relevant and irrelevant. And then we have most famous categorization of the cost, that is variable and fixed. I think we all know what is meant by variable and fixed. Now, how do you identify a variable cost? If the cost is changing with the level of output, that is variable. When you are producing 1 unit, if the cost is 50, then when you are producing two units, then if the cost is 100, likewise, if there is a positive relationship between number of units and the cost item, and that particular cost item, we call it variable cost, because variable cost tend to vary with the amount of output units, right? When the level of activity change, variable cost will also change in the same direction. When you produce more, you will get high variable cost. And the fixed cost is the other side of the coin. Fixed cost is always fixed. It will never change. How much it will not depend on the amount of units that you produce. It will never change, but during a certain level of activity range. When you go beyond that activity range, normally fixed cost also going to change. Just think like this. Now uh, if we have a classroom where we can accommodate 100 students, now only we have 50 students. right? So for the rent for the classroom is, just imagine 20,000 rupees per day, per week, right? So when we decide about the number of students that we need to accommodate, I mean, we are going to register into the class, we know that maximum point is 100 students. So up to the 100 student, there's no change in the fixed cost. Even though you register 50 students, even though you register 70, 80, 90, 100, even though you didn't even register any student, you will have to pay that rent for the classroom because you have already rented out. So that is fixed cost. But if you need to go beyond that 100, let's say you want to register 102 students, then that certain level of activity range will not going to hold, because now we know that the hall only could be accommodated within the hall. We can only accommodate 100 students. If you want to accommodate more than that, then you will have to move for another hall which is bigger than this one. So then your fixed cost might change, because when you need to go for a higher hall, obviously you will have to pay more for that hall, right? So within that certain level of activity, here the level of activity is number of students. So from 0 to 100, fixed cost is not going to change. But when you move beyond that 100 limit, fixed cost is also going to change, right? So therefore, we normally say we make this decision during a short-term period. That's why I said this decision is only valid for that, certain level of activity range, right? So that is variable and fixed cost. So let me let us calculate these costs based on this simple example and see how these costs are behaving, right? If you have any questions, please feel free to ask that question, right? Switch on your microphone and ask the question. If you do not understand anything that I am discussing here, please let me know, right? And here I have given you an example of a production. Now VC here is actually for variable cost and FC is for fixed cost. So the variable cost here is 520 rupees and fixed cost is 3000 rupees. So let me calculate. Let me assume a production range starting from 0 and going up for about 10. Right. So number of units starting from 0 going up to 10 units. And here it is unit variable cost. We know that unit variable cost is 520. Right. So I'm going to put 520. When you are when you are when you are producing 0 units, there's no cost. When you are producing 1 unit, 520. And when you are producing 2 units, again unit variable cost 520. When you are producing 3 units, unit variable cost 520. It is not going to change. So all the way from here to 10th unit, it will be the same, right? Then I'm going to calculate the total variable cost. So when you are producing 0, there's no cost, right? When you are producing 1, then you have 520. When you are producing 2, then you will have to pay 520 into 2, right? There are 2 units that you are going to produce. So the formula continues. That means you are getting these numbers, right? When you are producing 3 units, you will have to produce 3 into 520. Sorry, you will have to incur 3 into 520. Total cost will increase up to 1560. Then when you are producing 4, 520 into 4, that is 2080. When you are producing 5, 520 into 5, 2600. Likewise, when you are producing 10, 520 into 10, that is 5200. So this is the total variable cost. This is the behavior of the total variable cost. Then fixed cost, if you look at now, according to the example, we had a fixed cost of 3000 rupees. So when you are producing 0 units, you had to pay that 3000 rupees, right? Then when you are producing 1 unit, again you will have to pay that 3000. It is not going to change. So all the way from 0 to 10, during that activity range, your fixed cost is going to be fixed. That's why we call it fixed cost. Then the total cost is always equal to total variable cost and fixed cost, right? As I said, we can divide total cost into two parts, variable and fixed. So here total variable cost plus fixed cost is equal to total cost. So total variable cost plus fixed cost. So you are getting these values. So you, when you do the calculation, you are getting these numbers. So here 3000 plus 0, 3000. Here 3000 plus 520, 3520. Here 3000 plus 5200, you are getting 8200. Right. So this is the behavior of the total cost. Right. Let me put these values into a graph so that we can observe the behavior of this cost item. So when you are changing the activity range, when you are changing the volume, then we can observe what is going on with the cost behavior. So let me put these values into this chart, right? So here, I am going to put this output range into X series, starting from 0 going up to 10. And y-axis, I'm going to put the fixed cost. Right. Right. Now you can see it is going in parallel with the x-axis. Why? Because no matter how much we are producing, the fixed cost is going to be the same, 3000 rupees. And let me put total variable cost here. Now this is fixed cost. This is fixed cost. And then I am going to add another one, that is total variable cost. So x-axis would be the number of units and y is actually the total variable cost. Right. Now you can see total variable cost is actually starting from 0, because when you are not producing anything, your variable cost would be equal to 0. And there is a positive relationship between number of units and the cost, right? So you have this type of a curve. Then I am going to add total cost, right? Here I am going to add total cost. Same thing here, x axis would be number of units and y is the total cost. Right, now you can see all these graphs, right? Here, now if you look at here, this gray color graph, let me give you these legends. Right, now you can see this blue color line, it represents the fixed cost, right? This orange color line, it represents the total variable cost, and gray color one, it is the total cost, right? Now you can see the relationship here. Now fixed cost, it is going parallel with the x-axis, and you know there is a positive slope here with when it comes to the total variable cost, starting from 0, increasing when the number of units are increasing. But the total variable cost obviously starting from the fixed cost, because when you are producing nothing, you will have to pay the fixed cost. So therefore total cost is equal to fixed cost plus total variable cost. Now you can see total cost line is also going in parallel with the variable cost line, right? Only difference between total cost and variable cost is actually variable cost line starts from 0 and total cost line starts from the fixed cost. So this is how the cost is behaving when you change your level of activity. Now here we have changed from 0 to 10. Right. So let me give you some understanding about each and every element: fixed cost, unit fixed cost, and unit variable cost, and all that. Now, if you want to understand about unit variable cost, first let me discuss about fixed cost. Right. Now we know that the fixed cost with the number of you know units that you are going to produce, fixed cost is going to be the same. So let me put that here. So fixed cost, again I am going to put the fixed cost here. Actually I am going to put the total fixed cost, obviously the same result. So the x-axis again would be the number of units and y-axis is fixed cost. So the total fixed cost behaves like this. There's no brainer here. We all know the fixed cost is not going to change. It would be the same. And now I am going to check what will happen to the unit fixed cost here in this particular graph. So before we are going to plot those information in the graph, I need to do the calculation. Now here we have total fixed cost, then I am going to calculate the unit fixed cost here. So how do you calculate the unit fixed cost? It is very easy. We have total fixed cost and we have number of units. What we have to do is we will have to divide total fixed cost by number of units. So what I'm going to do, divide this 3000 by number of units. Here we are not going to get any answer because we are dividing by 0. But beyond that, we are getting answers. Now you can see the pattern. Now when you are producing more, unit fixed cost is going to be less. Now when you are producing 1 unit, your unit fixed cost is, sorry, this is, it should be this one, fixed cost, right? When you are producing 1 unit, your unit fixed cost is 3000 units. When you are producing 2 units, your unit fixed cost is 1500. Because why? When you're producing 2, you can divide total fixed cost by 2. So for 1 unit, it is 1500. So when you are producing 10, 3000 divided by 10, then you are getting 300 rupees. So when you are producing more and more products, when you are manufacturing more and more products, your unit fixed cost is kind of in decreasing trend. So let me plot this information in this particular graph so you may understand the behavior very clearly. Right. So here I am going to plot unit fixed cost. So the x-axis again will be the output number of units, and then y will represent this unit fixed cost. Right. So unit fixed cost line, kind of you are getting this type of line. So when you are producing more and more products, the fixed cost is kind of getting decreasing, right? It's a curve type. So this is the behavior of the unit fixed cost. Now, unit fixed cost is not fixed, even though we call it fixed cost. It will always change depending on the number of units you will produce. But total fixed costs, it doesn't change. So that is the relationship here. So let me move into the variable cost. So let me plot total variable cost. Obviously, we have already plotted that here in this particular graph. You know that there is a positive relationship between number of units and the total variable cost. But for the sake of understanding, I am going to plot it again here. So total variable cost. And x-axis again, it is number of units, and y-axis total variable cost, so that we know exactly what is the relationship between total variable cost and number of units. We know it is a positive relationship and starting from 0 going up. But what is interesting is actually unit variable cost. So let me plot that here. Again, I'm going to plot unit variable cost. Number of units and unit variable cost is here. It is 520. Right. So now you can see it. Let me get rid of this 0, otherwise. Right, now you can see the relationship here. Now, total fixed cost and unit variable cost behave in the same way when you are increasing your units. But unit fixed cost has a negative relationship with the number of units. Total variable cost has a positive relationship. Right? So you'll have to understand these relationships. I hope that you got the point here. Even though we call fixed cost is fixed, that is only applicable for total fixed cost. If you look at the unit fixed cost, it will definitely a negative relationship. There is effect. And when you say variable, it is basically for total variable cost. But if you look at the unit variable cost, it will never change, at least according to the assumptions. So this is the idea here, right? I hope you got the idea here. If you don't, please let me know. So the summary of the variable and fixed cost behavior. So we have two types of cost: variable cost and fixed cost. So in total, the total variable costs change as the level of activity change, but per unit variable cost remains unchanged, remains the same over the wide range of activity. So fixed cost, it's the other way around. Total fixed cost remains the same even when the activity level change, but the per unit fixed cost or the unit fixed cost will goes down when the activity level goes up. So that this is the summary of what we have discussed so far, right? So with that note, I am going to move into our main topic, that is cost profit volume analysis. As I said, it is we normally call it as break-even analysis also. Now here it says that a systematic method of examining the relationship between changes in the volume and changes in the total revenue, expenses, and the net profit. Same thing that I explained when we were starting the class. So what we are going to do is we are going to establish a relationship between cost, volume, and the profit, so that we can see when we change one variable, like when we are changing the amount, when we are changing the level of production, what will happen to the cost, what will happen to the profit. More like a sensitivity type of analysis. And here we are also keen about calculating break-even point also. Break-even point is actually the point where or the amount of units that you produce at the point where you are not making any loss or any profit. That is break-even point, simple as that. So normally people call this as the break-even analysis also. Cost volume profit analysis, break-even analysis, those two terms we normally use interchangeably, right? Okay, so let me move into this one. Again, I have mentioned here it's a short-term decision type of analysis. It's not going to applicable for long term, because we are based on a lot of assumptions, which we will discuss later. Right, these are the basic terms when it comes to cost profit volume analysis. And we have marginal costing, same idea, same word, same thing. Marginal costing and variable costing, same thing. So the marginal costing is the costing technique that we distinguish between variable and fixed costing. So marginal cost means variable cost. So it's the same thing, right? So this is the idea here. So how do you calculate the marginal cost or the variable cost? We take these elements: direct material, direct labor, direct expenses, and variable part of the overhead, and marginal cost per unit. Then you are get the marginal cost per unit. So what do you mean by direct labor, direct material, direct labor, direct expenses? So the word direct give you the idea that it is directly related with the main production, something like this. Now, if you are producing tables, wooden tables, your direct material would be wood, lumber, because that is the direct material you are using. So when you're producing more table, you need more wood. Direct labor would be the labor of the carpenter that who is building the table, if it is based on the labor. And other direct expenses may be like, paints, which we can identify exactly according to the number of units that we produce, right? If we can trace easily according to the number of units we produce, then probably we can call it as a direct cost. So all the direct costs are normally considered as variable cost, because direct cost tend to change with the number of units that you produce. Simple as that. So therefore, we have taken up these elements: direct materials, direct labor, other direct expenses, and other variable part of the overheads. So overheads are the costs that you had to bear that has no direct relationship with the main production process. something like, you know, utility bills, telephone bills, you know, salary of the supervisors, salary of the security guard, salary of the management. So those are the things, you know, that are not directly connected with the main manufacturing process. So if you look at, you know, a place where we producing the tables, like same example, if carpenter is normally considered as a direct labor, but if there is a manager who is looking after the accounting part and, you know, controlling of the organization, that manager is not directly connected with the main manufacturing process. So the salary of the managers goes under the category of overheads, right? So that is, and there are some overheads which we can directly trace against the number of units that we produce. So that part we normally call it variable part of the overheads. And the other part of the overheads we cannot directly relate to the number of units. So those overheads we normally call them fixed cost. Fixed cost. Right. So this is the main idea here when it comes to the, you know, cost and profit, cost volume profit analysis. Right. Then we have a big word, that is contribution. This word is always there when it comes to CVP analysis. Contribution. So contribution is actually the difference between the sales value, what you are getting, the revenue, and the variable cost. Now, as I explained, total cost is equal to variable cost plus fixed cost. But the contribution, how you calculate contribution, the total contribution is equal to the total revenue minus total variable cost. Right? So this contribution is actually the central or the key terminology here when it comes to the CVP analysis. So you will always has to calculate contribution if you want to do this type of analysis, right? So we normally make decisions based on the contribution, not on the profit. You will understand why we make decisions on the contribution when we are moving ahead with this analysis. Now, if you look at the term really closely, you can see, however, the term contribution is really sort of describing the contribution towards covering the fixed cost. As I said, now total cost is equal to fixed cost plus variable cost, and you have sales revenue. So total revenue minus fixed cost, you are getting contribution. So in that contribution part is actually that contributes towards the profit. Now, if that contribution is more than fixed cost, that means you are contributing towards the profit. You are covering your fixed cost, and then you are contributing towards the profit. So that is the big idea. You will understand this when we are doing our calculations. Nothing big. So let me go straight away for this simple example, so that you can understand these things very clearly. Now here we have example. Again, just before going to the example, please, if you do not understand anything, please let me know, or either switch on your mics and you can always ask the question. All right. So starting with this example, it says that the selling price of per unit is 200, and direct material per unit 20, direct labor per unit we have 30, and variable overhead per unit we have 20, and we have fixed cost 5,000 rupees. Then we have, company sells 300 units. So number of units the company is going to sell. Expected sales units 300 units. So let us do the calculation. So what are the things we need to calculate here? We need to calculate the contribution. We need to calculate the contribution. Right. So let me do the calculation here. Let me take these, values for these all the variables that we know here. So for the selling price, we know it is 200 rupees. So I'm going to put 200 here, selling price. Direct materials, we have 20. Direct labor, 30. Variable overhead, 20. And, Fixed cost, total fixed cost, we have 5,000 rupees. And number of units we are going to produce 300, right? Right. So then how you calculate the total cost and how you calculate the total revenue. Right. Before going to the calculate the total cost and total revenue, first we need to calculate the unit variable cost and total variable cost. So when you do the summation of all these three items, direct labor, direct material, and variable overhead cost, we know that those things are the variable cost. So those three comprise the total variable cost when it comes for one particular unit. So we have 20 plus 30 plus 20 is equal to unit variable cost. Here direct material plus direct labor plus variable overhead cost is equal to unit variable cost, that is 70 rupees. Then how do you calculate the total variable cost? Easy. Since we are going to produce 300 units, we have 70 rupees for 1 unit. So 70 multiplied by 300. So we have 21,000 rupees as the total variable cost, right? Then you need to calculate the unit contribution and the total contribution. So how you calculate the contribution? We discuss about that here. Total contribution is equal to total revenue minus total variable cost, right? How you calculate the total revenue? Very easy. We know the sales price. We know the number of units. So it's just a matter of getting the multiplication of sales price and the number of units. So you are getting 60,000 units. Sorry, 60,000 rupees as your total revenue. So in order to calculate the total contribution, you can use the same formula. Total revenue minus total variable cost. Total revenue minus total variable cost, and you are getting 39,000. 39,000. How do you calculate the unit contribution? We have two ways to do it. Either you can divide this by number of units, or you can get the sales price, that is per unit sales price minus unit variable cost. So you are getting 130. You get the same answer even if you divide this 39,000 by the number of units, that is 300 units. It is always the same thing, right? Okay, now we have already calculated the unit contribution. Now just remember, this value is not in terms of rupees, it is units, but this value is in terms of rupees, that is total contribution in rupees value, right? Now I want to calculate the total cost. How do you calculate the total cost? Easy. Total variable cost plus total fixed cost. So we have all those information here. Total variable cost is here 21,000 plus total fixed cost is 5,000. So you have it. 26,000 rupees total cost. Then you can easily calculate the profit. Total revenue 60,000 rupees minus total cost 26,000. So you are getting 34,000 as your profit. And there's another way that we can calculate the profit, since that we have already calculated total contribution. You know that how you calculate the total contribution? Total contribution is equal to total revenue minus total variable cost. Then if you remove fixed cost out of the total contribution, you can arrive at the profit. Now we have 39,000 as the total contribution minus fixed cost is 5,000 rupees. So you get the same answer, 34,000. That is your profit. That's why I said contribution is to contribute towards the profit by covering up the fixed cost. Now here you are getting a profit because your contribution is more than your fixed cost. Here contribution is 39,000 and the fixed cost is 5,000. So therefore you are earning 34,000 profit, right? So this is the main structure of the cost profit volume analysis, where you calculate your contribution and based on the contribution you calculate your profit, right? So still we have not discussed about this break even part, so let me go into that. Now we all know break even situation is actually where the organization does not earn any profit or or experiencing any loss, that is profit is zero, right? Or in other words, that means TC equal TR, that is total cost equal to total revenue, right? So let me put this perspective into this formula, right? So this is actually the main formula that we are looking at, right? Now you can see it here. Now we have total revenue minus total variable cost. What is that? That is contribution, right? That we know, we already discussed. Here total contribution is equal to total revenue minus total variable cost, right? Here that is what I have displayed here, total revenue minus total variable cost. Here that is 39,000, that is the contribution, and this side I have total fixed cost plus profit. Now I know the total fixed cost is equal to 5,000 rupees and the profit is equal to 34,000 rupees. And you know, summation of 5,000 and 34,000, again it is 39,000. Now you can see the relationship. So this side we have contribution, this side we have total fixed cost plus profit, right? So it's the same thing, right? Here contribution, total fixed cost plus profit. So that means the contribution is equal to total fixed cost plus profit. See, 39,000, 39,000, same thing. Now let me move into this idea, right? Now if you look at this relationship here, right? You can see the total, when the total contribution is more than the fixed cost, you are making profits. Understood? When you have higher contribution compared to fixed cost, you are making a profit. The same here. We have the same situation here. Your fixed cost is 5,000, your contribution is 39,000. So you are making a profit. But when you have equal fixed cost to contribution, that means you are not making any profit or you are not making any loss. So this is the point we are looking at. Contribution equal to fixed cost. That is the break-even point. So when you have a less contribution, when it is compared to fixed cost, that means you are obviously making a loss. You are making a loss. So now we are looking at this point when the contribution is equal to fixed cost, right? Okay, now we know this idea. Total contribution is equal to total fixed cost plus profit. We discuss about that here. Then I can again divide this total contribution into this unit contribution multiplied by number of units. So that's how we calculate the total contribution right here. Now if you get the same example here, unit contribution is 130. All right. So 130 multiplied by number of units, that is 300 units. You are getting 39,000. That is contribution. This is contribution, right? And this side we have total fixed cost plus profit. How you get that value? Total fixed cost is equal to 5,000 and plus profit we had 34,000, right? So the answer here is 39,000, and here also the same, right? So this side we have FC plus profit. This side we have contribution, total contribution, right? So that's what I have given here. Total contribution is equal to total fixed cost plus profit. And then I have break down total contribution into two: unit contribution multiplied by number of units. Here 130 multiplied by 130 is the unit contribution, 300 is number of units, is equal to the same thing, total fixed cost plus profit. Now what I have done here, I have isolated this number of units so that I can get the number of unit out of the formula and just move this unit contribution from this side to the other side of the equation, right? Then it will become a division. So it's more like this. And the other thing here is, since we are looking at this point when the total contribution is equal to fixed cost, and we know that at the break-even point we assume that profit is equal to 0. Since there is no profit, so instead of profit I can here add 0, no profit, right? So I can easily erase the profit since it is 0, because we assume at the break-even point, not assume actually, in the break-even point profit is equal to 0. Therefore now you have the formula to calculate the break-even point. What is the formula? Total fixed cost divided by unit contribution. Total fixed cost divided by unit contribution. That's how you calculate the break-even point. Now here I have given you the formula. Let me do the calculation for the same example earlier. So I have total fixed cost of 5,000 rupees divided by unit contribution, that is 130 rupees here. 130 rupees. So 5,000 divided by 130, you are getting 38.46 as your break-even point. That means approximately you will have to, you will have to produce and sell 39 units. So we cannot produce 38.5 units. No, it's not going to work. So anyway we can produce, so we will have to round it up for the next close digit. So it will be 39. So you will have to produce 39 units to get into this break-even point where your total cost is equal to total revenue. So this is number of units. Now if you want to calculate the break-even value, you can easily do that. So multiply this 39 by the sales price. You know the sales price here, it was 3,000, it was 200 unit, 200 rupees according to the sum here, 200 rupees. So basically you have to have a break-even value of 7,800. So when your sales revenue is equal to 7,800, you are hitting that break-even point. You are hitting your no loss, no profit point. When you are producing 39 units, you are getting a sales value of 7,800 rupees. So this is the idea when it comes to this particular analysis. Right. So moving ahead, and I need to discuss another two concepts. The first one is actually the CS ratio, that is contribution and sales ratio, where we are creating a relationship between contribution and the sales price. Very easy. Now you can see the particular formula here. CS, normally we call this CSPV, profit volume ratio. Both of them are actually resemble the same thing, PV ratio, CS ratio. Don't worry if you get PV, it's the same thing, profit volume. So what you can do, contribution divided by sales. Now we already calculated unit contribution 130. We know the sales price 200 rupees. So 130 divided by 200, you are getting CS ratio. So multiply by 100, then 65%. What does this mean? This means that 65% out of your sales is contribution. 65% out of your sales is contribution. Right. So higher the ratio, better, because when you have higher contribution, that means you are making big profit. Then I want to discuss something called margin of safety, which is very relevant to this analysis also. So margin of safety is actually the amount of units that you are going to sell beyond your break-even point. Now, you know, according to this particular example, your break-even point lies on 39 units. When you are producing 39 units, you are already in the break-even point. When you are selling more than 39 units, that means you are making profits, right? So that part we call it margin of safety. So how you calculate the margin of safety? You get the budgeted sale or the expected sale minus break-even sales. So in units, your break-even sales is actually 39 units, right? So how much you are planning to sell? According to the sum, it is 300 units. So your margin of safety in units is equal to 300 minus 39. 300 minus 39. So you are getting 261 units, right? Then we have margin of safety in value. Easily you can do the calculation. What you can do, you can get the break-even value. You can use, there are two methods that you can calculate this. Easily you can multiply this margin of safety in units by the sales price, which is 200 rupees. So you are getting the value here, 52,200. Or you can easily get the you know, break-even value here, 7,800. Then you can get the total revenue. Now what is the total revenue here? 60,000. So here you can get 60,000 minus 7,800. So you are getting the same thing. Either you can multiply this margin of safety units by the sales price, or you can get the total revenue and minus and remove the break-even sales. All right. So MOS or the margin of safety is actually giving you an idea about your your sustainability within the market. How much of margin you can left for your safety, how much you can tolerate if the sales dropped in the market, up to what extent you can tolerate as a business. That is margin of safety. Again, I'm reminding you, this is actually short-term exercise. This decision making should only be this analysis should only be done for short term, right? So the break even, now we already calculate, we actually discuss the concepts and the calculation behind the break even point analysis, and I am moving into two type of analysis that you can use. I mean, two types of approaches that you can do the break-even analysis. Obviously, we have already done the calculation part. The equation approach we already discussed, and we can use the graphical approach also if we need. All right. So the equation approach we already discussed. We already discussed this equation. How you calculate the margin of safety, how you calculate the CS ratio, how you do the calculation from the break-even point. This is actually the equation method. So let me move into the graphical approach with the new example here. Please, all of you, please go through this example and get yourself familiar with this example. Now, sales price per unit is given 20, variable cost per unit is given 10, fixed cost is 60,000 rupees, and expected sales 8,000 units. And we are supposed to calculate contribution, total contribution, CS ratio, total profit, margin of safety. I hope that now you understand these concepts, these terms, and how to do the calculation. So let me go ahead with the calculation. So first of all, let me identify these variables. Sales price, we have 20 rupees. And variable cost, we have 10. Fixed cost, we have 60,000. And expected sales, we have 8,000 units. Right. So how you calculate the contribution? Easy. Sales price minus variable cost. We have 20 minus 10. Variable cost is equal to 10. So you are getting 10 rupee contribution. So how you do the calculation for the total contribution? Easy. Unit contribution multiplied by number of units. How much you are going to sell? That is 8,000. So you are getting 80,000 rupees as your total contribution. 80,000 rupees. Then how do you calculate the total profit? Easy. When you have total contribution and you have the total fixed cost. So total contribution minus total fixed cost. Then you are getting a 20,000 profit. Then as usual, you will have to calculate the break-even point. So how do you calculate break-even point? We already discussed fixed cost divided by unit contribution. Fixed cost divided by unit contribution. So we know the fixed cost is equal to 60,000 divided by unit contribution. We just calculated 10 rupees. Right, now we have the break-even point, that is 6,000 units. When you are selling 6,000 units, you are exactly on the point where you are not making any profit or you are not making any loss. You are exactly on the point where your total cost is going to be equal to total revenue when you are producing 6,000 units. So how you calculate the margin of safety in units here? You know the expected level of sales 8,000 minus we have 6,000 break-even point. So you have extra margin, right? So you have extra margin for your safety, that is 2,000. That is 2,000, right? Then we will have to do the calculation for the CS ratio, that is contribution and sales ratio. Contribution we already calculate, that is 10 rupees. Divide by sales 20 rupees, obviously 50%. So this is how you do the calculation for this type. Right? But this now we already discussed about this equation method. Now this is how you do the calculation using equations. But now I'm going to discuss how we are going to use this graphical approach. So in order to get these graphs in the Excel, I am going to give you this example output. So I am going to assume that we are going to produce from zero, starting from, I'm not going to assume, actually according to the sum, our expected level of sales is equal to 8,000, and I'm going to have several, you know, points on the graph so that I can draw a graph on the paper, right? So I'm going to start from 0 and 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, and 7,000 and 8,000, which is the expected level of sales, right? And I know the sales price is 20 rupees. So when you are selling 0, you are not getting any sales value. So 20, 0 multiplied by 20, 0. But when you are selling 1,000, you are getting 1,000 multiplied by 20. When you are selling 8,000, you are getting 8,000 multiplied by 20, that is 160,000 rupees. 160,000 rupees, right? I hope that you understand the calculation. It's a bit easy calculation. What I have done here is multiply the level of output by the sales price. So you are getting total sales value here. Right. Again, you can easily calculate the variable cost. And you know the variable cost here, that is 10 rupees. So total variable cost is equal to output multiplied by 10 rupees. That is the cost. So I'm dragging the formula down. So you are getting 1,000 multiplied by 10, 2,000 multiplied by 10, 8,000 multiplied by 10. And fixed cost, obviously, you know, it is not going to change. It is equal to 60,000 rupees. So it's just a matter of copying this value down like this. And you know how to calculate the total cost. Total cost is equal to variable cost plus fixed cost. Right. Then you can easily calculate the profit if you want, because we have sales revenue and we have total cost. How do you calculate the profit? Sales minus total cost, right? So you are getting the profit. Now if you look at the chart, instantly you know where our break-even point lies. When you look at zero profit, then easily you can locate how much units you have to produce. You have to produce 6,000 units in order to get into this point. So that means you have to sell, your sales value should be equal to 120,000, and at that point your total cost is equal to 120,000. So your profit is equal to 0. Right. So let me put this into a chart. Right. So I'm basically, we can normally when it comes to graphical illustration of this break-even analysis, we normally use three type of methods. We can use traditional approach. We can use, if you want, where you are going to plot sales value and total cost and fixed cost. Or you can use contribution chart approach, where you can plot sales, variable cost and the total cost. Or you can go with profit chart, where you are only going to plot profit value, right? So first, let me do the traditional break-even chart. So as I said, in the traditional break-even chart, I am going to plot sales, total cost, and the fixed cost. Right. So I'm going to put sales value, So x-axis is obviously always it is output range, and y I'm going to take sales. All right. Now you can see sales value starting from 0. When you are selling 0, you are not getting any income. Starting from 0, when you are selling 1,000, you are getting 20,000. When you are selling 4,000, you are getting 80. When you are selling 6,000, you are getting 120. When you are your total expected level of sales 8,000, you are getting 160,000 as your total revenue. So I'm going to plot total cost curve in the same graph. So again, I am going to add total cost curve. So output range has the X and total cost in the Y axis. All right. Again, I'm going to plot fixed cost in this particular graph. So fixed cost, we know the behavior. It is not going to change. It will be going to be parallel to the X line, X axis at 60,000 rupees. Right. Fine. Now you can see, let me get this annotation tool here so that now you can see at this point when total cost curve intersect with the sales curve, we have the break-even point. So this point we call break-even point. No profit, no loss point. No profit, no loss point here, right? That is break-even point. And this area, right? This particular area, this is where you are making losses, right? And this particular area beyond the break-even point, in this area you are making profit, right? So let me put these labels there. So you are making a profit here, you are making a loss in this area, you are making a profit in this area beyond when you go beyond the break-even point, right? And you know your break-even point is at this, you know, 60,000 units, and your fixed cost is given in here. Now if you look at how to calculate your fixed cost, it's here, it is always here. Now from this point to this point, it represents your fixed cost, right? This is your fixed cost. wherever you put, it's the same value, right? And since this is starting from here, this 6,000 units are actually your break even, so your margin of safety is really here, right? Starting from 6,000 going up to 8,000 units, that is your margin of safety. That is your margin of safety. And how do you calculate your variable cost? Very easy. That is the difference between fixed cost and the total cost. So you can easily get the variable cost from here to here. Difference from total cost. This is the total cost line to the variable fixed cost. So this part represents the variable cost, right? So altogether variable cost plus fixed cost, total part, it is the total cost. So if you want, I can keep that also. So starting from here to here, the total amount, you are getting the total cost. Right. So this is how you do this analysis on the graph. This is the graphical method. You can identify all the variables. You can identify the break-even point. You can identify the variable cost. You can identify the total cost. You can identify even the margin of safety, and you can identify break-even in units. That is 6,000 here, and break-even in rupees. That is 120,000, which we already knew when we do the calculation here. So this is more type of traditional break-even type of a chart, right? But the only caveat in this particular chart, only problem with this chart is actually we cannot show the contribution here. How much is the contribution? For that particular purpose, we will have to go for a contribution chart where we are going to plot sales, total cost, and variable cost. So let me do that here in this particular space. So I'm going to get in the contribution chart. First, I am going to get the sales. X is always output, and Y is going to put sales, right? And then I'm going to get total cost. Then I'm going to get the variable cost because we need to show contribution. So we are not going to put fixed cost. If you put fixed cost, there's no way that we can show contribution on the chart. Right. Now this way, now you can see clearly in here. We have the blue line, it is sales, orange one total cost, and the gray one is total variable cost. So the difference between total cost and the total variable cost, that is contribution. So you can always show that here. So the difference here is actually the contribution. This difference we can call it contribution. Right. So now you can see in this particular chart we cannot show contribution, but here we can show contribution. That is the difference between total cost, difference between sales and the variable cost. Difference between sales and the variable cost here. So you can see the contribution in this particular space, right? So this is how you show your contribution. This is actually the contribution at the point of break even. Now you can see at the point of break even, contribution is equal to fixed cost. Now the difference between these two curves, total cost and variable cost, that is actually fixed cost. Now I can use the same here. This difference is actually fixed cost. This is fixed cost. Now at this point, at the break even point, fixed cost is always equal to contribution. Now if you go for the 8,000 output level, the contribution will be higher. Now when you go to 8,000, you are getting higher contribution here. So here the contribution would be equal to this. Right? So if you come back down to 7,000 units, your contribution is this. Right? I hope you understand this. So you can show the break even point here also. You can show the fixed cost and the contribution. You have the variable cost line, and you have profit and loss situation also. But in the earlier situation, we plot fixed cost curve, but we cannot show the contribution. So that is the difference between contribution chart and the traditional break-even chart. And there's another way that we can display this relationship by using only the profit curve. So let me add the profit curve in here. Again, I'm adding. So we just calculate the profit. X-axis is actually always the output range, and Y is profit. Right. So if you look at the chart, now you can see when the particular curve or the line intersects with the X-axis, that is actually the output level, you are getting the break-even point. So when your profit hits the zero, when your profit is equal to zero, you are getting the break-even point. All right. So when you are going beyond zero, when you are going beyond 6,000 units, you are making a profit. If you are producing less than that, that means you are making a loss. Right. So this is the idea here with the illustration of this break-even chart. I hope that you got some understanding about the behavior of these cost elements and how you are going to plot these things in a graph. Right? So if you have any problems, any questions, you can ask it right now. And then I'm moving into the very important aspect of this discussion, which is the fundamental assumption in cost profit or the cost volume profit analysis. Why I put this into the end of the discussion? Because this assumption itself becomes the limitation of this analysis also. Right now, if you go one by one, now first assumption is all cost can be classified into fixed and variable elements. That is assumption. So here we assume all elements, all the cost items can be classified in these two extreme types, either fixed or variable. But in practical, it is kind of very difficult to do, because there are some cost elements that resemble characteristics from the both worlds. Just like, there are some semi-variable cost items. So part of that item is fixed, part of that item is variable. Just like our phone bill, the mobile bill, there is a fixed part that we should pay, and there is a variable part also. When you're making phone calls, you will have to pay. So those type of costs, we normally call them semi-variable cost. But therefore, in practical, it is very difficult for us to identify, it is very difficult to put each and every cost element into these two baskets, fixed cost or either variable cost. It's quite difficult. So that this particular fundamental assumption becomes a limitation itself. And then we have fixed cost will remain constant and the variable cost vary with the production level. That is another assumption that we are getting, but it will not become a limitation as such, because at the very moment that we discuss about this thing, I explained that this is only for short term. Since we are using this cost profit volume analysis for short term decision making, this assumption is quite, it is quite, realizable, right? Because in short term period, in a given level of activity range, we can safely assume that fixed cost is not going to change. That is okay. But look at the third one here. Selling price, variable cost per unit, and the fixed cost are all known and constant. That is a bit unrealistic, right? Selling price normally tend to change very quickly. Variable cost per unit is also might change. Fixed cost probably will not change. So therefore, we should be careful when we are doing this analysis. That's why I always say this is for short term. So we can safely assume that during a short period of time, sales price is going to be constant. During the short period of time, we can assume that the variable cost is not going to change, right? And the fourth one is, over the activity range being considered, the cost and revenue behavior is in linear fashion. But sometimes this is not the case. Sometimes the the pattern between the relationship between cost and volume, sometimes it will not always be the case. Like, you are not always getting a linear relationship. Sometimes you may get a collinear relationship also. So that is another assumption. Then we have fifth one, the only factor affecting cost and revenue is volume. We don't have changing in the production and sales volume. That doesn't affect. So that is another assumption that we are making. And the another one, the technology, production method, and the efficiency, we think that those things are going to be the same. But we can safely assume that, because since we are doing this for short term, we can just assume during a short period time, the technology is not going to change, production method is not going to change, the production efficiency is not going to change, right? And most importantly, we have ignored the fact that there's a value for time when it comes to the money. We already discussed about that. But again, here we can assume to ignore the time value of money, because here we are talking about short period of time, like 6 months, 1 year, some that amount of time period. So therefore we can safely take this assumption. And the last one is there is no changes in stock levels. So if something happens with the stock levels, definitely it's going to affect your profit. But again, we are now here, we are making that assumption. Again, it is safe because we are considering a short term period. So those are the fundamental assumptions that we will have to be careful when we are making short term decisions based on this cost, volume, profit, or CVP analysis. So that this is CVP analysis. I hope that you have some kind of understanding here about the concepts, about the terminology that we discussed, about the calculations that we went through, and about the graphs and how we plot all these values in the graph and how you identify these, margin of safety, break even point, fixed cost, variable cost, and other total costs within the graphs, and also the calculation, like equation methods and all that. Right. So with that, I am moving into the next part. Obviously, we have another 15 minutes remaining, so I can discuss the next bit of the discussion, where we are going to discuss about some of the decisions that we can make using this particular analysis. So I have listed down some of the decision: fixing prices, closure of the department or discontinuing product, profit planning, make or buy decisions, accept or reject special orders, or replacement of equipments. Or there is another way, another place that we can use this when we are making decisions with the limiting factors. When we are making decision about the product mix with a limiting factor present. So we will discuss about what is a limiting factor when we are discussing about that point. But so these are the things I'm going to discuss here. So first, I'm going to discuss with this fixing price, which is a very basic and fundamental concept. As we all know how to fix a price. Now here also the same thing. So nothing big here. Since we know how this works, so when you have this information, fixed cost, unit variable cost, existing sales units, and expected profit, probably it is pretty much easier for you to decide price for your products. It's very easy, nothing big here. So we have a fixed cost 60,000 rupees. I think it's the same example. And unit variable cost 10, and existing expected sales 8,000. Then expected profit is 30,000. So it is just a matter of calculating total cost, then total sales, then we can decide about sales price. So how you calculate total cost? To calculate total cost, you need total fixed cost and total variable cost. We already have the total fixed cost, that is 60,000. So you need to calculate total variable cost, which is very easy. You have unit variable cost 10 rupees multiplied by sales units, that is 8,000 units. So you are getting 80,000 as your total variable cost. Then you can calculate total cost 80,000, that is total variable cost, plus fixed cost, that is 60,000. So your total cost would be 140,000 rupees. So now how you decide upon your sales price? Your total cost is 140,000 rupees. When your total cost is 120,000 rupees, you know your profit, right? You know your profit. So that means your total sales price should be equal to this 140,000 rupees plus your 30,000 profit. So this should be equal to the total selling value. So to calculate the sales price, you have the sales value. This is divided by number of units you are going to produce, that is 8,000. So you are getting 21.25. This is child's play, nothing big to worry about, just the calculation. So when you know all these elements, you can easily use this knowledge to fix the price of a product, right? Okay, then I'm moving into a little bit interesting decision where we are going to decide whether we are going to discontinue a department or a product based on this analysis, right? Now here we have this information. We have departments in a same organization, department A, B, and C, and we have these sales and cost elements. We have sales values, fixed cost and variable cost, and the profit is also given here, right? And the management of this particular company is thinking of discontinuing the department C immediately, as it gives the maximum loss. Now, if you observe this, you can see the department C is what making a maximum loss here, because it is making a negative 12,000 profit. That means it's a loss, right? It's a loss. So now we are supposed to evaluate this particular decision. Now management says, since it is making a big loss, we should discontinue it. But for us, based on this break-even point analysis, we know we should never make a decision blindly without doing calculations. So first what we can do is we can do the calculation, right? We can do the calculation for the each and every department and see what is the contribution of each and every department. Because as I mentioned earlier, contribution is actually the key or the central element when it comes to the CVP analysis. So let me do that. We know this information. So we have sales and variable cost. So I'm going to get those values down here, copy and paste. So you have sales and variable cost. You know, easily you have sales minus variable cost, then you can calculate the contribution, right? Now we have the contribution value, right? Contribution value. So you can see department A is making a negative contribution, negative 3,000, and department B is making a 35,000 positive contribution, and department C is also making a positive contribution. Now you can see the problem here, because now management is thinking of discontinuing department C, but on the contrary, it is making a positive contribution, right? Now you can see the problems with the profit. If you make decisions based on the profit, probably you are making a wrong decision, because it is all about fixed cost. As I said, most of the time fixed cost is irrelevant when you are making decisions. So you need to get rid of fixed cost. How you are getting rid of fixed cost? That is by calculating contribution. Now, if you calculate the total profit with C and without C, you can see what happened, right? If you get rid of C, let's do the calculation with department C. It is very easy. No, that is also given. It is given. So you are making negative 8,000 profit plus positive 23,000 profit in the department B, and again negative 12,000. That means you are making a profit of 3,000 for the entire organization from each of these three departments. So if you get rid of C, what will happen? Let me calculate the profit. So you are getting up again profit from A, that is negative 8,000, plus from B you are getting 23,000, right? And you are not getting this sales value 50,000 rupees. You are not going to go for, you are not going to bear this 40,000 rupees because department C is no longer there. But fixed cost is there because fixed cost is actually a sunk cost because we already have incurred that, which we cannot reverse. So therefore, that fixed cost is going to be considered as a negative impact here. So you are getting a fixed cost. You are not getting any sales values, but the fixed cost is already there. So what will happen? When you get rid of department C, you are getting from worse to worse because earlier you are making at least a profit of 3,000. When you discontinue your department C, you are making a profit. You are not even making a profit. You are making a loss of 7,000 rupees. You are making a loss of 7,000 rupees. Instead, what you can do is, if you want to discontinue one department, you can discontinue department A because department A here is making a negative contribution. Department A here is making a negative contribution. So if you discontinue the department A, the total contribution will be higher. The total contribution will be higher. So here our comment is actually the management decision is wrong. We should not discontinue department C because we already did the calculation. We know that C is making a positive contribution. And according to this calculation, we know if we get rid of department C, we are coming from worse to worse. Right. So that's how you make decisions based on this analysis. So always we need to look for contribution, not based on the profit. Right. Then we have profit planning. Yeah, this profit planning, obviously we can use actually the in light of the formula that we have discussed earlier, the formula to calculate the break-even point, we can use the same formula in order to plan for profit. It's more like that, how much units that we should sell in order to get into some amount of profit. That planning can be arranged or can be done by using this particular formula to calculate break-even point. Now you know the formula, right? Break-even point, you can calculate it by dividing fixed cost by the unit variable cost. Unit contribution. So what we can do, why we divide fixed cost by unit contribution? Because we assume that profit is equal to 0. You know that because it is break-even point. Now, when you have expected profit, what you can do is you can add it into the fixed cost and divide it by the unit contribution so that you can predict how much units that you would sell in order to get into this profit. It's very easy. So let me discuss this example with you. So here we have example, fixed cost per annum we have 60,000 and unit variable cost 10, sales price 20 and expected profit 30,000. So what you can do is you can easily use this formula, fixed cost plus expected profit divided by unit contribution. So you are getting fixed cost is equal to 60,000 plus expected profit is equal to 30,000 and divided by unit contribution. So here we have how you calculate the unit contribution, sales price minus unit variable cost. Here we have sales price of 20 rupees and unit variable cost of 10 rupees. So you are getting contribution of 10 rupees. So here you have, if you need to earn a profit of 30,000 rupees, you will have to sell 9,000 units. You will have to sell 9,000 units. So this is how you do the profit planning. It's very easy. So using the same formula, just adding one modification like this expected profit, you can calculate the amount of units that you want go for that expected level of profit, right? That is profit planning. Right, then we have another decision we can discuss, that is make or buy decision. So this is a decision where a company is making their own component within the company, but those components could be bought from the outside also. Now the company is considering whether to buy it from outside or we are going to make it our own component within the company itself, right? So in that type of decision, now we have this information. The firm produces a component called K200 at level of 100,000 production. However, this component could be brought in for 15.5, and if so, the capacity utilized at present work would be unused. So we cannot do anything with the present. We have a facility, but it cannot be used, right? So now we have to make the decision whether we are going to get it from the outside or we are going to make it inside, right? So these are the information we have. We have material 5 rupees, labor 2.5 rupees, variable overheads 3.5, and fixed cost of 7 rupees. So the total cost to do the manufacturing within the company, you will have to go for 18 rupees. But if you buy it from the outside, you only pay 15.5. But again, in this particular decision, now you will have to recall the memory of the relevant and irrelevant cost. When we discuss about irrelevant and relevant cost, we said that is purely depend on the situation or the particular decision you are going to make. Here, what is the decision? Whether we are going to buy it or we are going to make it. Now, if you make it, you will have to bear 18 rupees. But the point here is this 7 rupee fixed cost is already done. You cannot change that because it is already there. Even though if you buy it outside, that facility is there, that capacity is there, that machinery is there with you. You cannot do anything with that. So therefore, when you are making this decision, this fixed cost become irrelevant. That becomes irrelevant. So you have to make the decision only on the variable cost. That is the marginal cost. So let me calculate the marginal cost here. For materials, we have 5. Then for labor, we have 2.5. Then we have 3.5. How much here? 5 plus 2.5 plus, and then 3.5, we have 11 rupees. Right. So if you do the manufacturing within the company, you will have to bear around 11 rupees, which is the variable cost. But if you buy it outside, you will have to pay 15.5. So it is an easy decision. You should not buy it outside, but you will have to make it inside. So this is another example where you should not get fooled by the fact that there is a fixed cost, because fixed cost is always a sunk cost. It is already done. There are instances where we can get rid of that fixed cost also. But if there is such instant, then fixed cost become relevant in that type of decision. If this particular if this says something like this, if they say that if we do not use this capacity, we can use this particular machinery to do another work, to produce another component, then the story is going to be different, because we can use the same fixed cost, same facility, to create another product where you can earn on that product. So therefore we can release the fixed cost. We can calculate the amount of contribution given by that alternative activity. But here it says that the capacity utilized at present work would be unused, so it will be idle. Nothing is going to happen with the fixed cost. It will be idling, it will be sitting there doing nothing. So it's a sunk cost. Therefore we should not consider it when it comes to this decision, right? So that is the idea here, right? Okay, so now it's around 9 past 3 minutes. So we have another, I mean, quite a lot to discuss. We have to discuss about the decision to accept or reject special order. After that, again, we will have to discuss about this replacement of equipment and decision making with limiting factor, which we will do this calculation in the next time when we meet. And for today, I'm going to stop the class right now. It's